Oh, hello there, everybody. We have gone there and back again. Hello, it's episode number 100 of FinalBossTV, your WoW and Game Rating Show. I will be your host. My name is Adam aka Bay, and what a long and strange journey this has been. 101 episodes. I don't know if it's sunk in yet. People always ask me if I'm going to do anything special for the episode like 100, but I thought I have enough things lined up, and I have no crazy how-to-do special idea. But today we are sitting down with 3 members from the new top US NA guild in World of Warcraft, sitting down with some members of Limit to talk about their claim to fame / rise to power / where they came from and who they are. And we'll see how things go in Legion in the future here. Next week, I'll be sitting down with Asmongold and Bellular to go over our predictions for BlizzCon 2015. And then the week after BlizzCon, that'll be the 15th, there'll be no show the week that I'm actually gone. I'll be sitting back down with Preach and Nobble to go over what happened at BlizzCon. So, join me for all those episodes in the future. But for right now, let's go on the table real quick here and meet our guests for today's episodes. There's Maximum. Hello, sir. Welcome to the show. Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Are you ready to do this?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. You ready to talk about tanking stuff and guild officer-y things?
Sure. Yeah, I can do that.
Just sure? Yeah? All right.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that. Hope so. Hope so. Joining you in the officer chair, there's Tagzz. Hello, sir. Welcome.
Hello.
Are you're talking about healing things and officer stuff too?
Hopefully.
Hopefully? I mean, I hope. That's what I pay you guys for, right? Jeez.
Yeah.
And then, last but not least, Kissthebaby, sir. Welcome. Hello.
Hello. Not an officer.
Not an officer, just a member. You shoot things with a gun,
just
right?
Just a worker bee. I'm just a raider.
Just a worker bee? I like it. I like it. But you do play an alt of the best class in the game, so there's respect there.
That is true.
That is true. You believe in the fire?
No.
Fire Nova overlords, man. Don't even. Oh my goodness. Goodness me. But yep, I think we're gonna have to start off real quick here with Kiss. How did you get your name?
I got it from a football player named Chad Ochocinco, and he was on a TV show called Hard Knocks, and it was like one of his like phrases, and it was Kissthebaby, and I just stuck with it. I've had the name for like 5 or 6 years, so it basically means like it's over or something. I don't know.
Well, you are playing the most OP class right now, so.
Yep. That's true. It's about time.
About time.
We waited our time. It's about time. We are the most OP class.
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you all for joining me here today. Should be a good next little bit. I'll be keeping the similar format to how the chat might be familiar with, how toward the end of the show, after I do the commercial break, I'll be doing some like live Q&A with you guys. So after the break, we'll talk for like the next hour about stuff, and then after the break, we'll talk to chat room for a little bit and go over some questions from them. Hopefully they're not ridiculous questions. So I have 2 prepped just in case they get ridiculous. But I think what's going to happen here first is let's just open it up with who you guys are, a little more about yourselves, how long you've been playing this game, and what you do in the guild. I'll go with Maximum first. You're up. Go, sir.
I've been playing since ICC. I really started reading competitive at the end of Firelands into Dragon Soul. I DPS for most of my WoW career, and I just ended up tanking when I came to Limit, when we formed Limit. So, in officer stuff in the guild, I don't do Tagzz. Pretty much does the recruitment. I just kind of help secondary raid lead a little bit behind True Fire and manage people. I don't know. That's my thing.
How long have you been doing this now? Like, did you start something before you were in Limit, or?
So before Limit, I was in Duality for 2 years. I was a DPS Feral Druid for the first year, Windwalker Monk at the start of Heimal for obvious reasons, and just mainly DPS. I've ended up tanking at the end of tiers, which is why I decided to do it when I came here, but yeah, that's pretty much how it's went.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Tagzz, how about you, sir? Give us a little bit more information about yourself.
So I guess to start from the beginning, I started playing in the first year it was released, like in December or something, not like on release day. But I didn't start raiding until probably Dragon Soul, and I've been playing Holy Pally since Dragon Soul, and I used to tank before that. And in the guild, I guess I do the closest thing that you could call recruitment, although we haven't had much recruitment going on. Other than that, just kind of help out with administrative stuff, and yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And have you been doing that before when you came before Limit, or was that a thing that you just kind of have grown into now with the new guild?
Not officially. I was in Duality before as well, and I helped out a little bit with recruitment here and there, but no, I wasn't actually an officer in Duality, so this is my first time as well.
Alrighty then. And Kiss, what about you, sir? How long have you been DPSing things?
I have been playing since like the end of BC, like right before I played. Started like competitive rating like at middle of Kata-ish. And I played my Hunter as my main the whole time.
So you've never really swayed away from Hunter?
Nope, never swayed away. I've always been a Hunter.
Ah, okay. That's why the whole biding your time moment comment came in. Well, hey, I mean, Beastmaster was pretty good for a long time. I don't know what you're talking about.
It was okay. It's not my favorite spec.
Right. Well, now you're all marksman. There's no pet to be involved, except that weird gopher guy you got there in your screenshot.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, well, all right then. You guys have been playing this game for a while, I would imagine, collectively. So I guess the first thing I wanted to lay out all the open, I guess, was what happened to form Limit. Like, how did this all start? And this is a big chunky topic you see in the notes. You don't have to go through every single point, but I kind of want to bounce around and see like how this all came about, where it came from. So Max, you want to open this off with like what happened to form the guild, and then tell me when you want me to bring up this cool little graphic that you guys gave me.
Yeah, if you have a graphic, you can put that up while I'm talking. But yeah, basically it's a couple of guilds were going in the wrong direction. A few of them ended up dying. Probably not because of us leaving, but just that was the direction they were headed in. And we all had kind of played before, a couple of us in a WildStar guild, and a couple of us have just raided together in general. And we kind of just got to talking about halfway through Foundry. Maybe we all want to raid in a different guild. Specifically, the BL people did not want to raid as much, and they kind of wanted to come down and raid the hours that did Duality and WWA and Nightmare Asylum, and all of them were raiding. Well, Nightmare Asylum was raiding more than those two, but so Nightmare Asylum was kind of after the fact. It was initially between Promethean, Duality, WWA, and BL, and we kind of got talking, got a Skype call going, see who was interested, and we ended up had a surprising amount of people. And then we just formed the guild. And then right after that, Nightmare Asylum quit, or they died, and we were able to pick up their members, who are some of the people who backed out from Duality and from other guilds. Were able to fill the spots from them, and then that's just kind of how it came to be.
Right, because there was a bit of a misconception that was going around, I guess, when you guys first sort of broke onto the scene, that it was basically like Blood Legion 2.0, which obviously by this awesome graph that was put together, that it's obviously not the thing, right? It's not the case. You want to squash that like rumor mill out there right in the face.
Yeah, I would say very little about this guild is really about BL. I think it was formed, and the person who is leader of the guild is from Blood Legion, but never was an officer there. Then we just have 7 players from BL, and then a mix from a bunch of different guilds. And like nothing about it is BL. We don't raid near the amount that BL ever did, nor will we ever. It's a little bit a way different atmosphere as well. I would say it's probably a good culmination of everything, just the guild's interaction. Everyone's always in the same mumble channel. Surprisingly, with how the nature of the guild was formed, there is not that many cliques. It's kind of like everyone gets along pretty well, which could have, in a situation like this, could very easily have gone the opposite direction. So I think it's turned out pretty well.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, you guys did just kind of jump ahead, and there was a bit of a tumultuous start at the beginning of HFC, of course. I think everyone in the community as a whole, if you kept up with the actual world first race, kind of felt it from the NA side of things. So I don't know, Tagzz, what do you want to share some details with me about how like the guild situation went about? Like, how was it like a really rough, weird period of time when everything was being formed and moving around, or was it kind of like an understanding on all these different fronts of those involved that this is a move that not our region needs to have, but I guess these players and these guilds needed to have. What did you think from your perspective?
Well, I guess at first we didn't form at the beginning of HFC. We were
Right.
Slightly after most of the top guilds had been killing Blackhand. And when we initially did it, none of the guilds that we were breaking off from were, I wouldn't say that too much affected. BL and Nightmare Song died before the guild was formed. So I wouldn't say that really had an effect on them. And then other than that, it seemed for the most part that WWA and Duality and Promethean were carrying on as normal. I guess I don't really understand the question, like in terms of the HFC part.
Well, I mean, not the HFC part itself, but like how when all those things were happening with guilds at the end of Blackhand and then going into Hellfire, because we saw lots of guilds either reconstruct or fall or die soon after HFC was like getting into the thick of it. How did it all come around that you all just started talking and figuring stuff out? Like this is a move that you probably would want to do for like the betterment of everyone involved?
Well, I guess I think from the start of this expansion, it hurt NA rating a lot because of the way the game is structured, with the split runs being done in conjunction with Mythic, and even during farm, people were playing a crazy amount more than they used to in High Mall. Like in High Mall farm, people were raiding their full hours the entire time, and that was a lot different from before. So that's probably what kind of hurt these US guilds in the beginning, and from that point, that's when a lot of these guilds started having their own problems, not anything that was mutual between the guilds. It was just like for example, we in Duality were kind of frustrated with various things, and Blood Legion was frustrated with their own things. So that's probably how all these guilds started fracturing and dying and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of points, I'm sure, a lot of not so great moments that were leading to this sort of weird decline / downfall / like reorganization. And from your perspective, Kiss, since you're not like involved in the officership that created the guild, how were things from, I guess, like you said earlier, the worker bee perspective? Was it something you just wanted to, you had friends that were moving to Limit that you wanted to go with them and continue? Was it something that you thought of after the fact? Like, how did it all work for you?
Yeah, it was basically because there were a bunch of friends that were going, and that was like the main reason why I wanted to leave WWA and go to Limit. But I mean, yeah.
just yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't want to talk bad about my old guild, but
Oh, of course.
it was just things where it wasn't going as what they used to be, back in Siege of Orgrimmar, and we get progressively just got worse as the new expansion started, and it was kind of like a dread to I wasn't enjoying raiding basically anymore, and I saw this as like an opportunity to move on from that.
Right. Okay.
And start something new.
That makes sense. Is there any like? I'm trying to look for details or things here, sort of like as a PSA, because many people in this realm, in the guilds right now, always ask me like, how do I find a guild? Having trouble in my guild right now. What do I do? Do either of you have, or any of you have, any like thoughts and opinions on how like the guild side of things should work and what you should be looking for when you join or trying to find a guild, or if you have issues with the one you have? Because obviously in your extreme case, many people from multiple guilds all sort of either their guilds were collapsing and then you sort of amalgamate it all together. So like, what would you have to say to people looking for, and it doesn't have to be Kiss, and any of you want, I don't know who wants to field this topic, because there's a lot of good, bad, and toxic things in either guild construction or staying in a guild for a very long time, like rubbing people the wrong way or having issues with other different people's personalities. So was there any, who wants to grab this?
I'll take the question.
Okay, Tagzz.
I think certain people in any type of guild might place more importance than others on ranking. But I think something that's shared probably among all people is that it's a game. You know, it's play it to have fun. So I think that's the one thing that people all need to agree upon. Like if you're not enjoying your current guild, there's no reason to stay in it. Like stuff like that. I mean, I guess there's caveats to that, but that's pretty much the above all that it's a game. So have fun playing it.
Right. I mean, you're obviously you're paying for your time to be here, but then of course you have to want to play and log in to be in an atmosphere in an environment that you have fun doing, because there's a lot of time investment to be put into a game at this high level. So, was there, since you were the part of the recruitment stuff, Tagzz, was there any weird situations that came about when people were moving to Limit that you had to, like, I guess, deal with or squelch, or things that are still like maybe haunting from the events of bringing the guild to together?
Well, basically, when we were coming up with the idea of the guild, we had like a spreadsheet going with a bunch of names, and some of those people backed out. So we ended up not having the number of people that we were expecting, so we needed to fill the gaps. But luckily for us, Nightmare Asylum died at that exact moment, so we got in a few people from their guild into our mumble and interviewed them and stuff. Because up to that point, most of the people that we had on our list or we were planning on having in the guild, they knew someone, like they were friends of friends or friends of Truefire. You know, everyone knew each other through some sort of chain. So in terms of recruitment of, I guess, you know, almost random people from outside of our chain of friends, we didn't really have to do much. In fact, we only picked up one person that we didn't know in the first really few months of the guild, and that was Refute from Smitus and Friends, who just kind of so happened to app. So we kind of knew everyone going into the formation of the guild, so that made it easy on you know, the officers and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because it's a huge amalgamation of people. I mean, I didn't know until you told me the other day when we were setting the show up, and I got this graphic, that it was that many people involved from different walks of guilds' lives in the World of Warcraft. So, no, it's definitely crazy. I mean, from your experience in this situation, Maxim, because you I've stepped up into this officer role, what would you say to other people out there that are either officers of guilds or like want to move up in their guild on how to like help, I guess, grease the gears for things like this to run smoothly? What do you think?
I feel like as far as the officer thing, especially in our guild, like rank, well, I guess officer is a little different, but rank really doesn't mean much. Like trial member, officer, like whoever it is gonna like be in the raid and mean more. Like some of our members and in previous guilds I've been in, some of the members we had were just as helpful as officers. I feel like it's just stepping up when your guild needs you to like be either a leader by example or a leader within the raid. I don't know if it's much of just like getting promoted and stepping up. I just feel like yeah, I mean, if you're an officer in a guild, you pretty much, I mean, because everyone hates that, right? Like if you're in a guild and you have an officer that like doesn't do a lot, and they like act entitled, that's like the worst thing ever. I feel like it's just as nice on the other spectrum to have members that step up a lot too. Like for example, we didn't really know what we were doing this tier starting out. Like we didn't know what our atmosphere was going to be rating, so we had a few members like call out certain mechanics and stuff like that. While by the end of the tier, when we really got in the rhythm of thing, it was pretty much just the officers handling it. So it's, yeah, I guess it just turns out to, yeah, having officers be like a lead by example, not entirely always having to lead by like what you say or how much you talk.
All right, that sounds good. And from your perspective, Kiss, is there anything that you would want to like? How do you work into this system where it's not like Guild that's been around for a very long time, right? Or you're coming into this new area and there's a lot of new people, all the new personalities, stuff like that. Has there been any weird moments for you so far, or has everything kind of worked out smoothly?
Everything's been pretty smooth. You know, you just gotta, you gotta trust, the people that you're playing with, where you're gonna go, and hope it all works out. No weird moments, really, except Decane.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
there are some.
absolutely. Decane's just completely ridiculous.
He's having some weird moments in my chat right now. Yeah, so I don't really understand. I guess that would translate into the game. That's fair. All right then, and I guess so. We'll move forward to I guess what is or are Limit's goals. So where do you want to be in Legion? Because I know that Maximum said that you aren't looking at like raiding like ridiculous amounts of hours. You're not going to go like ham on the core as it is. So what's the goal you guys are setting when Legion comes around? Are you still like evaluating what you want to do? If you want to stay in this like top world spot, or
no, we're sticking exactly what we did this tier. We're not ever in any amalgamation of this guild will never be like raiding Midwinter or like Method or Blood Legion or Paragon hours. Like the only time we ever do that is the first day, and even then it's like it's not even as much. Like for example, the first day this tier we raided Realm Up, which was like 12:30 to our normal end raid time instead of like Realm Up to like 6 in the morning, and then we just raided 7 to 12 or 7 to 1 every other day we raided. And we don't plan on ever increasing or probably decreasing that. What we ended up doing this tier was I think we had the ambition of rating 7 days the first 2 weeks and then dropping. What actually ended up happening was we rated 7 days first week, 6 days second, 5 days third, 6 days fourth. The 6 days fourth was probably just because we were going to kill Archimon, and we killed Archimon on the last day, on the Friday. So I think that's probably what you'd see from us going forward. We might do 7 days the first 2 weeks now. Probably. I would say people are pretty committed after seeing what we did with the time we put into this tier to really just stick it out and do 7 for at least the first 2 weeks. And as far as where we're going to stand, it kind of depends. Guilds that raid a lot more on a shorter tier is absolutely going to like favor like guilds that raid a lot more but didn't achieve as much are going to beat us in a situation where it's a short tier with a not that hard last boss. But I think we would like our chances in the same situation in the same competition if the tier like this one is longer and has a little bit harder bosses.
And I guess to add to that too, believe it or not, our goals in the beginning was we would be happy if we got top 20 world and top, I think it was 3 US. And so that's not going to be our goal for next year again, but I think we were more than satisfied with how we ended up doing this tier. And so I think in terms of actual goal for ranking, we would be super happy if we got the same rank. We're not trying to go up from there. That would be, that we're satisfied where we are, I guess.
All right. I guess that's fair. Is there... So there's no, like, overhead, like, you're not, like, trying to shoot for the moon. You're just trying to get into the atmosphere, I guess. You just definitely really did, because you landed the top spot for NA, but no 16-hour raid days until the final boss dies?
Absolutely not.
No.
And it's something, yeah, I mean, well, shooting higher... I mean, like you said, we went into this tier not expecting, but we were like, if we get top 20 world rating these hours for our first tier, that would be good. As the tier went on, we were maintaining top 10, and then we were like, okay, we could be able to get top 10. But I mean, if you're talking about top 5 and up, it's not something we would ever realistically, just like we wouldn't realistically ask for top 10 this past year. I don't think we're ever realistically going to expect to get top 5 world unless like something drastically changes or like everyone has a pact and they decide like, okay, everyone's not going to day raid and raid all the time and everyone would be on the same footing, which I think would be awesome. But, there's always going to be guilds that take work off for 2 weeks and go ham. And I mean, no guild, and we're like, no guild would be able to beat that. It's just not possible. So it's probably never going to, like, we wouldn't shoot higher than that.
That's fair. It's a weird place because I think that the rating scene is going to be interesting in Legion. It's another split tier, right? We have another like small instance, larger instance kind of thing for the first launch of it. It'll of course be delayed as it was with Highmall and Blackrock Foundry. So I wonder what the new because how many top guilds do you think are really vying for those spots now? Like I would imagine Method is still going for it. Serenity will be, Paragon. If you guys are not going for like that top spot, it's gonna be an interesting situation. I don't know what to think about that. Because I think as a community we were all kind of like waiting for Warlords to bring back a rating with 20-man Mythic. We're like, oh, the ladder's gonna be great, but then the ladder kind of fell on a lot of people, and it didn't really hold up very long. I'm trying to make puns, but I'm not very good at puns. I'll have to see. So I guess what other steps are you guys taking to, as a guild, I guess, to be like in the limelight then? Which I guess the first thing I wanted to bring up was that you guys have like a social media manager. So Tagzz, you want to walk us through what
Sure.
all that entails? Yeah.
So basically, Azoria approached us when the guild was being formed, and I mean, it sounded like a good idea. You know, what can we lose? But actually, she ended up doing really good work, like more than we expected. Some
Way more.
kind of random person she just randomly approached us, so we didn't really expect much. But she did a lot of work and got our Twitter going and all these things, and got us in contact with sponsorship opportunities and stuff like that. So we didn't really actively seek that, so I can't say that, but she's done really good work on that front.
Yeah, I don't think many other guilds in that realm have someone that's like monitoring their image and stuff like that. I mean, I worked with Azoria the whole time to set up this whole interview, starting weeks and weeks ago, to get the time set up and to get who's going to be on the show and who's going to be the ones that are going to be coming on. So yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you guys are working on for that? I'm going to ask the serious question next, but anything you want to add to that, Kiss? Max? No?
No, just I don't know, trying to make people aware of our
Let,
guild. Get our
now
name out
let's go ahead and say that
Oh?
if Azoria wouldn't have approached us, I don't think we would have ended up having a social media manager. I don't think we would have like gone out and done that. Like, it's helped immensely. There's a lot of reason for it. But honestly, it just came to her, like coming to us. I don't think we would have ended up pursuing that on our own, like handling the social media and being our manager and stuff. So
Okay.
I guess that's worth mentioning.
That's fair. I mean, because having like it's almost like having a staff, right? Like an outside of the game sort of staff. So not every guild has something like that. So, well, all right. Well, I'm gonna ask the weird question. And I wanted to. This is like what steps are you guys going to make to keep the guild as a positive force? Because you're sort of coming out of the shadow of maybe a guild that wasn't exactly looked upon very positively by the community as a flat whole. So you guys posted an Archimon video, your regular Archimon video, just the regular kill video one. But then you posted a second Archimon video. And I want to give you guys a chance to like clear the air on the Archimon video and how that all worked out and why it became a thing if it did. And I was told by Tagzz you're taking this one, sir?
Yeah, so I was actually the one who made the video, and so I can speak on a little bit of why we did it. Obviously, I can start off by saying it's clear that it rubbed people the wrong way and, was ill-advised, I guess. But really the intention of it was almost like an inside joke type of thing. Like it wasn't an attempt at outwardly trolling other people or anything like that. It was just some people in the guild thought that would be hilarious. That was pretty much it. So it was, I guess, in retrospect, ill-advised, but we weren't trying to do anything more than make a funny video. Not like a funny trolling video, just funny by itself, but I guess, not everyone's the same.
So basically what happened is we were going to make in a normal video, we had someone and a couple people in the guild lobbying really hard to have, was it the Hulk Hogan song at the end? They were like, we gotta play this in P3. And so half of us were like, no, half of us were like, yes. So a result of that meant we were going to create a video that was entirely like real and like cool and had like cool music and all that stuff. And then because we didn't get the American song in it, we decided to make a second video with the American song in it, and along with that we just made the whole thing American based. And that's just kind of how it turned out. And it, because we thought it'd be funny, which it was funny. However, it could have also been seen as not funny or insulting to a certain guild or two. So I think that's it definitely got perceived a wrong way from what it was originally intended. But I mean, we don't like regret it. Like, it's not like it wasn't intended on like insulting anyone or anything like that. So it's also a very funny video. Should give it a watch. But I think it's it just kind of got a bad reputation from that. And more on the bad reputation is so as you were like we were talking about the other night, like the kind of how some people have a negative stigma against the guild without really knowing too much about it. And I think a lot of that comes from just in the nature of how the guild was formed. It's, you know, when you get a guild where, you know, the better players from 3 or 4 or 5 guilds all join one guild, those guilds are not going to be happy about that. And they're not going to probably like those people in some situations. So I think that's where a lot of that came from. I think like really a lot of it, because when we made the guild, we pretty much were like, you know, you can say whatever you want, but don't say it publicly. Don't say anything stupid. You know, just, you know, keep a to my knowledge, there's no one in the guild that goes out of their way to like publicly troll or humiliate or like belittle people in the game and stuff like that. That doesn't really happen. I think it's just like kind of like a nature of the guild, and also because BL kind of like some people dislike BL, and the guild can kind of be seen as like a second BL, even though that's really not a very correct way of looking at it. But I think that has a lot to do with it, because there hasn't been a lot of public like stuff that we've done besides the video to give off that interpretation.
Right.
It's just kind of like how it's gone.
Right. No, the video I think was one of the early, which I'm sure you learn from these sort of things and can go and take that forward, because I would imagine that as a new expansion rolls over, it's a really prime time to have a different image or be out there, you know? So the video was interesting. It was a little bit trolly when you were taking the #1 NA seat. That's why it could have been construed as like rude and sort of jabby. So hopefully that doesn't happen in the future. But I realize that it's a hard way to when you have a guild image that you used to have, or some of the people you used to have that were like, that's, you know, still pulling on them. It takes a while to get that all erased away, because that's supposed to be the whole point of what you guys are trying to aim for. So, well, I guess that'll bring me to what are your thoughts on the US rating scene? Because this has kind of been a weird topic for a while, that everyone is always like, you know, EU is always going to be better. You know, why do you in the US like rank yourself as a US like rank only? Why don't you rank yourself as a world rank? You know, it's a hard topic to tackle. So I guess, are there things that are just wrong with it?
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of like how it's came to be. And like I said the other night, it's, I feel like the EU is vastly more competitive. They've obviously had the best guild for a long time. I don't think it's as much as like US people like say their US rank just to not say their world rank. Like I think I don't think anyone in this guild is ashamed of what world rank we got this year for how much we actually put into it. I also know that like there's other guilds like EU guilds that have done that before that have said the same thing, like Scrubbusters and Ascendants, when they were really good, like constantly like mentioning how little they rated compared to everyone else. It's just something that every guild does. Every guild, top 50 US world, doesn't matter. Every guild kind of makes not necessarily excuses, but finds ways to like make themselves feel better or better for what they did. If everyone rated the same amount, obviously that would be completely out of the question. But since it doesn't, that'll always, at least in some way, be there. And as far as like EU versus US, I think my view on it is I think EU has a lot more players that are like good just at a quantity. I think they have more players that play the game, therefore they have more good players, therefore they have more good guilds, stuff like that. I would also argue that I think the best, like the very best, however many EU players are just as good as the very best US players.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think there are more of them in the EU. I think it's like it's just kind of like the culture there. More people can take off and raid those hours and
Right.
stuff like that. I think that's what I think is how that goes.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. I think everyone always has their own perception of that situation. But you can look at WoW Progress, and you can see that the number of guilds in their top 100 that are further along in content is far more than the number of guilds in the top 100 in the US that are far along with that content, just because there are more people that are willing to play the hours. Normally, just comes down to that bottom line there. How many people can commit to that kind of a schedule? I don't know, Kiss. What do you think about the U.S. EU rating scene? How does that, from your perspective?
I mean, what Max said, they used it. I think they just have a lot more bigger player base, and they're able to take more time off, etc. The whole like U.S. first thing. I think it's kind of just like mainly there to kind of make us feel better. Like we like look what we accomplished, because like I mean these are the U.S. I mean these are the only players we can play with, so. I mean, we're the best from the player base, like that we have. So I mean, in a grand scheme, I don't really think it's the U.S. rank really matters that much. I think the world rank is the only important one.
No, I mean I'll agree. I think that from my guild perspective, we say that we are a U.S. ranked guild because we're not recruiting from EU.
Yeah.
Like
exactly, I agree with that.
Yeah, there's a weird connotation with both of those, I suppose.
I just think less people in the U.S. are playing the game, and what people like why guilds are dying is just they kept playing in their tight knit group. They kept playing for the social aspect, and that was slowly dying, and then you just see guilds die. Just a lot of guilds dying.
Yeah, and not to mention what happened in the U.S. rating scene, like the guilds that rated hardcore in the U.S. scene: Exodus, Vodka, Blood Legion, Midwinter. Midwinter, not when Exodus was like a thing, but like Midwinter eventually rated those hours and put in that time. All of those guilds are dead, or now Midwinter's not dead, but like Blood Legion died, Exodus died, Vodka died. The player pool of actual U.S. players that want to compete at any point has pretty much diminished. Meanwhile, Method had all of MoP just dominating 25-man, being able to recruit the best EU players that they could get. And then once WoD came around, there wasn't anyone competing with them. Not Paragon, not any guild. There's no one as good as WoD Method, not even close. So no matter how many hours you raid. So that's just kind of how it's gone. And now you look at that's why a lot of us say like really like us getting US first was probably like one of the worst things for US rating. Like some of the Midwinter players quit. They said they're reducing their hours for next year. Not to say that we caused that, but they're at least going down. That is like the sign of everything like probably not being as good as it ever could be. That's pretty much completely forfeiting world first from a US perspective going forward. Which at one point seemed like the only way that was going to work is if we just like stuck all the best players from Vodka, Exodus, and Blood Legion and Midwinter into a guild and like kind of seen how that would have worked out, but probably wouldn't have. So it's at least it's like the dream is dead per se. If that makes any sense?
No, it doesn't make sense. That's why I was wondering about how the U.S. scene in Legion, if we're gonna have any home turf guilds to root for in the race. The race is fun, right? Mana Flask actually has a huge, amazing interactive coverage of the entire raid race in World of Warcraft from the beginning until the most recent for Archimon. It's an awesome thing. If you haven't checked it out on Mana Flask website, you should go poke that. But it just feels like it's going to be everyone's rooting for different EU guilds in Legion, because if you guys aren't going to put in 16-hour raid days for 2 or 3 weeks solid, then I don't know who else will. Which, just kind of the sign of the times, I suppose. The game's been out for a decade. Like things are going to change in this regard. So it tags. Is there like a time rated versus wipes on boss versus like learning curves of players that sets apart guilds, really? Like from your perspective on limiting the players you guys have versus the other ones? I think we can all agree on that, like the players that, and what Max just said about Method, like no one was close. Like they killed Mythic Archimon before anyone else with one ring and a whole lot less gear than people are doing right now, like in my perspective. So it's like a
Well, I think there's you have to look at it with a grain of salt because obviously Method, they killed Archimon so fast, but when you look at their pull count, it was, you know, some really high number, and Paragon got world second and their pull count was in, you know, 600 something. So if you look at it from just a pull count perspective, you would think incorrectly, like, oh, Paragon's not actually that good, they just raid that much. And then at the same time, if you guilds that are killing Archimon a few months from now, you could probably kill Archimon right now with current gear and all the strats and everything out, and especially if it gets nerfed in the future, you could kill it probably in 100 attempts. Not that difficult. So you can't look at any one metric, and also in terms of almost like guild pride in your own work, like, you know, oh, we killed this boss in X pulls. I think that's really just something that you should almost keep to yourself, because like I said, there's so many different metrics for it, like time spent, pulls spent, and then also if you know, did the boss without kill videos or something. There are all these different factors that go into it. So if you want to almost figure out how well your guild did, like, oh, we killed this boss 10 pulls faster than this other guild, you know, there's not really any reason to go brag about it or something. I mean, it's just something to be proud about yourself. That's pretty much it, I think.
No, I mean, that's sound. There is a weird, I guess the internet bragging right thing is awkward, I think, because it's a team sport, if you want to look at it that way, right? Like you plus 19 people, plus a couple more if you have lists or people will swap in and out or whatever, or you know, roster bolstering. It is a team effort to get where you end up in the rankings here. And I personally, doing the show now for over 2+ years, have heard many a thing that's awkward and interesting about how the different rank brackets and realms, and you know, the top 3 are different than the top 10, different than the top 25. Like everything comes down to a different place. And if you aren't going to, with the split clears and the 16-18 hour raid days and the 7 days a week, if you're not going to do that, then you land where you land, I guess, and you should be happy about where you land, because there's so much weird, like, behind the curtain, like, attacks and toxicity and, like, DDoS and, like, really bad blood, and, like, it's just a video game, guys. Like, why can't we just play the game together? I guess, I don't know, it doesn't exist in real sports, has the same kind of crap and you know, behind the line trading and secrets and that kind of stuff. So I suppose it just permeates in anything that's a competitive
It exists.
edge, right?
It definitely exists in real sports.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, the Patriots.
Well, you know, I'm going to step away from real sports nonsense. I don't know enough about that. But I know that there's definitely a lot of parallels that draw between that. I guess whenever you get enough people in a competitive setting, you will get that anywhere. So just wish it wasn't as prevalent, I suppose. Do you guys have any little things that you're working on going into Legion? Did you have anyone making an inner guild boss mod, for example, that are going to help you guys progress in the coming expansion? Or do you have any of those little hints and tips and tricks and hidden things that you're working on going forward? Or
we don't have anything planned because when we haven't seen PTR yet, although I think most of us, most of the guild really puts a lot of time into PTR and Hellfire Citadel, so I could totally see the guild going crazy on beta when it comes out. In terms of a standalone add-on, there's not really a point with it, because one, Exorcist Raid Tools is made public, and it's an amazing add-on.
Yes,
Does
it
almost
is.
everything. And then other than that, weak auras, you can do pretty much anything with weak auras, anything that you would need. So that's pretty much the only thing we would use in terms of, top secret raiding add-ons is just wait for Exorcist raid tools to release their thing, and sometimes make some interesting weak auras.
Yeah, Exorcist came about sort of out of nowhere, and I think it has reshaped certain things, because
Yeah.
before that, everyone was like, do you have so-and-so's weak aura? And different top guilds like let their weak auras be public after they've got the kills. They're usually part of their kill video. That's great, but Exorcist has done some really great things. I almost wonder, though, some boss fights in HFC have been completely trumped and trivialized, or mechanical phases by boss mods like that. And I really what we're going to see in Legion, because as someone in chat just mentions, we need AVR back. You basically have AVR between Exorcist and weak auras on certain
Exorcist
bosses,
is completely
so
ridiculous. It's probably the best rating add-on, for sure.
yeah. And Blizzard has to design encounters going into the future with this knowledge that people have these tools at their disposal to counteract the mechanics they put in the game. So, we'll have to see. But like I said, I'll segue right into what do you guys thought of raiding and warlords and WoW in general, and then of course what you guys thought of for Legion. We'll talk more about a little less guild-oriented stuff here before we, we'll calm it down a bit. We'll talk about raiding and warlords now, and we'll go around from your perspectives all over the board. I'm gonna start with Kiss first, though, on this one. So you want to give me like a DPS perspective on where you thought warlords raiding has been, and any thoughts or hopes or dreams for Legion raiding?
Overall, I thought it was pretty good. I didn't really like Highmaul, but I thought Hellfire was a really good instance, and I hope it's the next Legion's more like that, like around 12 or 13 bosses in a raid, and I like that. I don't really like the splits where you do a short instance, like Highmaul. You farm that for 6 weeks or whatever, and then you have to do split runs and all that BS, and then there's a new instance, a month later or whatever they have to progress through. I didn't really like that. I know they said they're doing it again, so I'm not really looking forward to it, but I really liked how Hellfire turned out.
So Hellfire was good, but not as much the two raids before.
I mean, Foundry was alright, like, for what it was. But yeah, I didn't really like how they were split up like that.
Right. Well, that's not going anywhere. Anything from like a DPS perspective, though, from you? I mean, I guess the really awkward thing from our side of the coin is that all the hotfixes that kept happening and the balance changes that kept affecting things, and every other Tuesday, Priest just talked about this in one of his latest videos, that like, how do you make even guides on classes when everything was changing all the time? So
that's true. Like, well, I'll just use my class as an example. Like one spec, like Marksman was really good at the beginning, and then Survival got buffed, and then that was good for a while, and then that spec got put in the trash can, and so no one even plays it anymore. And then BM was good for a little bit, and then look, Marksman's on top again, almost because of set bonuses. But I mean, I've been switching specs for the majority of the expansion, except of late. And I mean, it's just something you have to deal with. It's always been like that. I mean, a spec's always going to get buffed randomly, and one's going to get nerfed, and you just got to be ready to, be able to play all three specs or whatever. That's why it's nice, I guess, to play. You only have your one spec class. But yeah, from a pure DPS standpoint, you have to be able to switch.
I suppose, right? I guess. I hope we have a better beta testing for DPS endpoints in Legion, because a lot of things change so often after launch that it just like, I don't know. I'm gonna have a whole lot more secondary stats possibly coming in Legion now too.
Yeah, I will say one more thing about my class. Like during Blackrock Foundry, all three of my specs were even. Like you can play one spec and you wouldn't lose out on anything, and it was great. You can switch between them and you'd be fine. And then the next tier comes around for Hellfire, and all of a sudden they just nerfed random specs for no reason, and made one spec superior than the rest, which was, I don't know, just didn't make sense in my opinion. But they did almost get it perfect to where you can play any spec of your choosing. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Chat brings up you play a class, not a spec, but that's not necessarily true because I play Enhanced Shaman. I'm playing a spec. I'm not gonna go. No Enhancement Shaman suddenly goes Elemental, or an Elemental doesn't suddenly go Enhancement.
In a top guild, like, you know, if you're competing, that would be the case most likely if you wanted to keep playing your Shaman.
Sure.
Well, I'll give an example for Errol. He was Enhanced for IMO, and he switched to Ellie because it was better for BlackRock. And
right.
So yeah, there's a good example of that. Just because Ellie was performing better.
Yeah, I guess what is it? It's called imperfect imbalance. The system of like ups and downs and scale changes, stuff like that. Every other little bit of stuff. Even like a trinket can change class balance. So
exactly, 4 sets, 2 sets, trinkets. It's ridiculous, especially the class trinkets.
Yep. However, from a healing perspective, Tagzz, you want to walk me through how healing was? Did you bounce around to different healers throughout progression?
No.
Same. Okay.
Well, I have in the past, so the only reason I didn't was because Holy Pallies have been, I would say, overpowered this entire expansion pretty much, especially right now. So, although I just said Holy Pallies are overpowered, I think the balance this expansion as a whole has been really good, actually. They kind of lost sight of what they originally intended on. I think they had said that they wanted to make healing more like you weren't able to top people. That's what they said when they were coming out with this expansion, because they were kind of frustrated. The perfect example in Siege is Thok, how the raid would dip to 20% and be healed back up to full every second. And they didn't want something like that, but I mean, fast forward to the end of the expansion, it's pretty much like that again. But yeah, the balance for healing has actually been great. Almost every healer is viable. I think Holy Priests are weaker than there hasn't been a time when they've been strong. But they're pretty weak right now. But every healer is viable. There's no reason why you would want to switch and stuff like that. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, no, we just went over the last catch-up episode with elemental healers, and before that, of course, we had the healers of the light. And I think that was the one everyone always brings up Holy Priest, and I don't think Holy Priests have ever been like limelighty, because if you're gonna bring a priest, they're discipline. And that just comes down to the shield meta. It's just that absorbing damage and preventing it is better than just taking it and then healing it up. But no, I agree. I think that no one has said that the healing in this, at least now, maybe like toward the end of BRF into early HFC, all felt really well. Obviously, mana is not an issue anymore. You just kind of like spam all day, every day. There's no stopping. There's no mana concerns. But healing, I think, has been pretty well off, yeah. Is there anything you might hope for maybe in the future for a healing perspective? Are classes just a little bit too... Is healing too simple now, or...?
I don't know. I was kind of annoyed that they didn't really change the play style at all, which you can't really blame them for. But if you look at certain DPS specs in between tiers, a lot of times with various buffs and nerfs, your rotation can change a huge amount. Whereas with healing, it's pretty rare that you change what you're doing on like a global to global basis between tiers. This tier, at least for me, Holy Pally, the class ring and Archimon changed a lot, but in general, between tiers, healing doesn't change that much at all. So this is kind of the exception with the Archimon trinkets. But so that would be nice if they, I don't know, almost put more effort into making the healing more variable between tiers or something.
I think variable between tiers is something to think about. I'm plugging Preach again just because I listened to his little like thought experiment video he just had about thinking forward toward Legion and having different interactive things with not having active mana regen, because I don't think any healer really wants to, I just spent mana, let me just spam Lightning Bolt for a little bit. and we're good. Like that's not interactive. It's just like a maintenance thing. They already even have that right now with Rescue Shamans with just maintenance, keeping up elemental blasts buff. One of the examples though from like they need to have something that rewards play that's better for healers and gives them other options, but not penalize them for not doing it. And I wonder what they're gonna do with trying to bring the fantasy back to these different healers. So I know you play Holy Paladin now, and there's a Holy Priest. Your names are probably gonna change in Legion. That's probably for sure. Oh, do you have any thoughts of what your Holy Paladin name would change to?
I don't know about the name, but I am looking forward to what they change us to because it's been pretty stale.
You mean you don't like Double Beacon?
No, I mean it's been pretty stale over the course of the expansion. They came out with multiple patches. And I guess that's a sign of the class being great. It's fine. There's not really any buffs or nerfs that need to be had, but there would be patch notes that come out and Holy would be unchanged. I think the only real thing they changed all expansion was the Aura Mastery buff. So,
Well, you nerfed Hand of Purity.
yeah. Well, that was only for a specific mechanic.
Right, of course. So like that doesn't even change much for outside of that. It's just for that. Yeah. All right, Maxim. What you got for tanking? What do you think for tanking stuff? And did you switch around a lot? Because you're a druid right now, but did you?
Well, I mained Guardian previously, but
Okay.
I never really stick to any class. I'm just gonna play whatever does the most damage or is like obscenely broken for staying alive. Like I played Monk and Foundry. I played Druid this tier. If I could have gone back, I would have played DK and Foundry, actually, because they just did insane damage with breath. But that's pretty much how I feel about it. At this point in the game, and it's been this way for a while since active mitigation, is that all the tanks, if you're pretty good at tanking, all of them can stay alive any tier, regardless of what tier or gear you get. Just some of them do damage a little bit better than other ones.
Yeah.
So just play those.
That was a common theme on the last tank catch-up for plate tanks, is all they really care about now is just how to be doing much more damage. Because you live through everything. So...
Yeah, tanking has gotten like if you're good at active mitigation at any tank, like you can play all of them just fine. It's like gotten pretty easy. And then on top of that, it's just about doing as much damage as you can. Obviously without ever sacrificing dying. Like doing this is kind of more of a thing in MOP, but like, you know, like people dying more to do more damage, like that's embarrassing. But like if you're already not dying, you should be doing as much damage as possible.
That's fair. Are there any like tanking mechanics or changes you'd like to see to tanking? Because right now it's a lot of it is, you know, taunt on the debuff or don't taunt on the debuff. So anything you'd like to see evolve for tanking specifically? Any ideas or thought bubbles on that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Any thought bubbles on changing things for or adding stuff to, I guess, the tanking meta? Would you like to see more 3-tanked fights or different like?
No, absolutely not. I think
Okay.
3-tanking is not good. I think one thing they could do is after playing all the tanks, I feel like you can completely self-sustain and outplay a boss per se, as in like you regardless of anything else with HOTS, you know, you can keep yourself alive. I feel that way on Paladin, Druid, DK, and Monk to some extent, more last year. But I feel like Warriors are the only tank that's actually almost reliant on healers actually healing you. Like DKs especially, and then Druids and stuff like that can really outplay like the damage they take if like you can sacrifice the amount of rage, or I guess active mitigation resource, rage or holy power, whatever, to heal yourself to full if there's ever a bad spot. And I feel like Warriors don't have a really good way to do that since the barrier nerfs. Like barrier is good, but like a burst heal with the amount of health we have now is actually really, really good. And I feel like you have less control over your survivability as a warrior than you do as the other tanks. And I don't like that. I think they could fix that. I don't dislike anything else they're doing though. I think Vengeance was great defensively, but it's good they nerfed it offensively because it just was really bad in concept. Like that someone could just take a ton of damage and do way more damage than DPS. Like they should have never done that much damage. But
Right.
I do like the tank damage being relevant. You know, tank damage used to be playing a tank, and like even as late as Dragon Soul was like you pretty much just tanked the boss and you just used cooldowns and you just kind of got healed. And that changed in MoP, and now it's even more of the case where you're really just completely in control. Yeah, so tanking's good right now. Tank balance is pretty decent, but if they were to change, to answer the question, if they were to change anything, they should give warriors a little bit better way of managing themselves. I'd say that's right.
What's weird too is that they went into this expansion saying that they're going to try to like change all active mitigations across the board for all tanks to kind of be like Blood Death Knights, but then like lost sight of it, I guess, because even like monks don't really have active mitigation, because your active mitigation technically is like always up. It's not even active for brewmasters, and I guess that almost the exact same thing goes for paladins at higher haste values, because SOR is always up basically. So I wonder if they're gonna try to fine tune that.
Well, DKs are absolutely broken. They're absolutely broken. You cannot die in a Death Knight. Absolutely not. I mean, you can say that for a lot of tanks if there's a good player playing it, but Death Knights are just like I mean, you could use challenge modes or even raid as an example, where you just have so many different outs, and to keep yourself alive, I mean, you could just list through them just ways that you can just DPS as much as possible, and if you ever need to switch to keeping yourself alive, it's easy. Yeah, and it was that way. Like Druid this tier, everyone played Druid because they just. Honestly, that was one thing that wasn't balanced. Druids were not balanced this tier at all, even after the nerf. They, I mean, before the multi-strike nerf, they had like twice as much health as monks all the time and took just as similar damage. Like, it was just absolutely ridiculous. And they nerfed their health by 200k, but they were still the best tanks, for sure. Especially because you can open as a cat with Heart of the Wild and burst higher than every DPS in the raid. Like, they were way, way, way too good this year, and that's why we ran 2 of them. That's kind of how we're gonna go too. I think that's what me and Risen are always gonna do. Just double up on whatever's best, unless there's a huge reason not to.
I mean, it's a strategy. So somebody's gonna not do that. So fair enough. Anything else that you want to expound upon, or hopes or dreams for Legion rating before I move us on? Anything you want?
I hope Demon Hunters are beast, because I really want to play that.
Oh no, you know they're going to be.
Tank. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna be tagged. Monks weren't really that great in tier 14, so you don't know. I assume their DPS will be great and their utility will be great, but yeah.
That. I mean, double jump is gonna break the game apparently. Oh.
Yep.
Who knows? Tags, good. Kiss, you good? Oh.
Tags
Got
talking
a
about
got a loud train going on. So.
I have a train? Oh gosh, no.
I'm good.
Good. Fair enough then.
Tag.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess you guys already talked about healing.
Yes, we did. Indeed. Alrighty. I want to get us on and move us on so I can get to the Q&A part of the show for you guys. But take a little minute here to tell you guys about some things coming up and some announcements and some other things that you may not know about. But first and foremost, BlizzCon is like next week. It feels kind of weird, but it is finally here again. And the day before BlizzCon, on the Thursday before BlizzCon, there's a little party. It's gotten kind of big. There's a little event called the Con Before the Storm. That is happening on the Thursday before the Friday. That'll be Thursday night. Basically from 5, 6 o'clock to 11. I'll be there a little earlier than that. I'll be hosting one of the final panels of the evening from 9:30 to 11. As well as I'll be doing a signing session with some of my friends. Latomi will be there, Brute will be there, I'll be there. I'm doing a signing meet and greet session from 7 to 8. And then actually right after me, from 9 to 10, there'll be some Limit folks doing the signing session. A bunch of my artist friends, Fabelina and Fernone and Whammo will be there doing signing sessions as well, meet and greet stuffs. So you should go stop by the Con Before the Storm and check that out, and stop by the panels and the booths and the art store and the giveaways and the stuffs and the things. So be sure, if you're going to be at the Anaheim area for BlizzCon next week, then stop by the Con Before the Storm and come by and see us. I have wristbands still. Do you want a wristband? I have a lot. Additionally, of course, if you are looking to raid right now in the game and are having issues or coming back to the game or wanting to get ready for Legion, the best resource to go get back into raiding is going to be Open Raid. They have a huge change coming with the integration of all the new things on the future on the horizon, which I'll let of course, propagate out. I'm not going to blab about that too much. Everything's not going to change until the middle of next year. But please check out Open Raid. There are 347 events going on right now. Like, they've got past raid, transmog runs right now, Archimon farm runs. I mean, when the Archimoose becomes available, you want to get that heroic Archimon kill, go make an account Open Raid, jump in there, get an Archimon kill, get your moose. So that's the best way to do it. Super awesome. I've done stuff on Open Raid before. If you were a part of the older stream events, which is the Retro Raid Race, the Epic WoW Battles of History, we did that through Open Raid, and it was super awesome. All the VODs for that are in the channel guide, of course. And if you've missed anything on Final Boss TV, of course, you can find everything on Final Boss TV at FinalBoss.tv on our website. All of our YouTube episodes are all put up here. Stream link, all the podcasts as well. All the episodes go up as a audio-only version on iTunes and Stitcher if you want to listen to them right there. As well as we have our Designed by Humans store if you want to help support us and get some swag for yourself. We have a whole bunch of shirt designs as well as tank tops, baseball tees, hoodies, racerbacks, sweatshirts, phone cases, art prints, all that good stuff. All the new Little Final Bosses by Fabelina. Got the Lillidan, Little Dark Lady, Little Arthas and Syndragosa, and the Little Firelord down here, as well as the Method shirts. You can blame this little dragon if you want to. I mean, go for it. Or not. You can not blame him if you don't want to. We also may have one more design coming before BlizzCon. It just depends. And I will hopefully be bringing a whole bunch of these shirts with me to the Con Before the Storm to give away. So then there's that. Additionally, I have been working more on the Firelord's Favored page. This is going to be a gigantic page. All I do is just scroll down through. People always ask me about different communities and websites to find information or news articles or podcasts or different class-based websites. Those are all being built and put up here. All these graphics have been done by Wemo. We have a whole bunch more to add. You just click on them. There's Sacred Reader for Paladins, and we got Chain Heal for Resto Shamans, and Inconspicuous Bear for Druids, and Chi Burst for Monks, and so they're all right here. The Firelord's Favored page will be the one-stop place that if you guys need to find a website or you are looking at more information for World of Warcraft or different communities to join, you can go check them all out there on the Firelord's Favored page. More to do on that, and of course in the future. I hope to have it all launched before I go to BlizzCon. So there's another like 20 plus graphics to put up there at least to get all coded. So in due time. But now I'll turn it back over to our guests from Limit today. If you guys have any questions for them, you can hit me up on Twitter at FinalBossTV, and I will ask them. Or you can, of course, ask us in chat right here, just to give you guys some time to to wait for you guys to get all caught up. I have a first question. So this is Limit's first BlizzCon. How many of your members of the guild are going to the convention this year?
Not many at all.
Oh, no?
Yeah, I mean, it's really surprising to me because, I mean, even in Duality, we were never really a guild that like could go to BlizzCon or anything.
Mm-hmm.
We had like 20 people go last year.
Oof.
And yeah, I think Limit has 5 people going.
I would imagine it's going to increase from
4?
there, I would assume.
No. It's going to be...
No, well, for this year, it's not going to increase because, I mean...
No, yeah.
In
the future, yeah.
In the future, probably because people, when tickets were on sale and stuff for BlizzCon, the guild was brand new. People didn't really know each other that well, so it'll probably be a lot more next year, I would say. But yeah, really not many at all this year.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you got to get everyone's probably all in different parts of the U.S. Not everyone can go. That's fair. Let's see. What you got for me, chat? Tetleys or Tettles asks at Kiss, what are your thoughts on hybrid DPS classes and maintaining a core raid spot?
First things first, shout out to my boy Willie B. And
fair.
It matters if the hybrid is, if they do good damage, but if the player is super good, I mean, they should be able to, have a spot. It helps if the hybrid class has 2 DPS specs like Druid or Shaman, for example, but for a Shadow Priest, I think hybrids are always going to be, needed. I think especially ranged. I think if you're a ranged hybrid, I think you're more off, better off than a melee, like a Ret Pally than, for example. Like that's the class I'd be afraid to be kind of, or a monk, or windwalker. Just because it's a melee and, you know, they might not always be good. Like monks weren't that great at the start of Hellfire. But usually, I mean, we had all those classes and we still used them just because they're, you know, they're good players and
Right.
they'll still bring good DPS and stuff. So, you know, if that stuff only really matters at the top of the top. I mean, it shouldn't really matter for most guilds. But yeah,
that's fair. Malacron wants to know: are there any particular funny guild moments during HFC progression? This is a setup. This is a setup. I know it.
Well, he wouldn't actually know. He wasn't there.
Ah!
Well, he wasn't.
That's true.
But there was plenty, but most of them are inside joke type things. It doesn't really work that well. Although people probably know in the past, Blood Legion from their videos, they always referred to each other by their first names, which we kind of made fun of that in a way. And then for certain periods of time during progression, we would refer to the entire raid, all 25 people, as their first names. That was pretty funny. But I mean, most of them inside jokes. They're not that funny to outside people.
That's fair.
So one thing that wasn't funny at the time,
okay,
at all, what is definitely funny now is we wiped. We could have gotten World 6th on Archimond 2 days before we killed it. We wiped it 0.5%, and we all started nerd screaming in like the past 1% because we thought we were gonna kill it, and then we didn't. And there's a video of it, and yeah, we had a lot of none of it actually. In hindsight, we got really mad, but in hindsight, it wasn't actually nothing actually came of us nerd screaming. We just wiped because we lost 2 of our raiders to dance at like 5%, but it's still like was not good. But it's funny now because there's a video of it and it's pretty funny, but it's really kind of because, you know, World 6, World 7 doesn't really matter too much, but
sure,
it was it would have been like a really early kill too.
Oof. That would been rough. I bet was that what Alati was asking about? How funny or sad was the Archimon 0.2% wipe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
It was pretty rough.
Ugh, I can't only imagine.
I actually died like 3 minutes before that 0.2% wipe, so I was very disappointed. Probably would have killed it if I hadn't died.
I mean, there was a million things that could have let us kill it. I mean, we had 2 DPS die there. We had 1 DPS that, for whatever reason, on that log for that pull was doing just nothing, like all of P3. And like if he would have done as much damage as he could have, it would have been like dead 2% ago, that kind of thing. So it's a lot of things could have went into it, but it's funny in hindsight, which is why I brought it up. Let me see if I can find that video and link it. I think Ironic just did.
Yeah.
Was that a day or 2 days before we actually killed it?
2 days before.
It was a day. Yeah, it was a day.
Was it a day? We would have gotten 6th or 5th if we actually killed it on that.
No, 6th. We would have gotten 6th.
Yeah. Still way up there though. That's still up there. Another question comes in about DPS stuff. Kiss. Northern Man wants to know, speaking of hybrids, Hunter is becoming a melee ranged hybrid class.
Oh, yes.
Thoughts or aspirations for that? I imagine you don't want survival to be the best DPS of the 3, because that would.
I mean, I wouldn't mind. I mean, I prefer range, of course, but I do play melee as an ult. So I mean, I would say I'm not that good of a melee though. So I hope it's not the best. But I mean, I'm excited to try it. That's something new. I mean, I always like survival as like it was like my favorite Hunter spec. And then they kind of just put it in the trash can in Hellfire. It's unplayable.
Yep.
So I'm kind of happy they're changing it to its own thing, melee. It looks like they're gonna get like an AOE grip or something, so they're gonna have some utility. So that's kind of cool.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just we'll see in PTR. I'm excited. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. I like where Marksman's at right now. I hope they keep the instant aim shot. BM, BM is BM. I like where that's at. So I mean, I'm happy. I think it's cool, and I don't think it's necessarily a hybrid. We're still a pure DPS class, but I mean, I'm excited. We'll have the option to do that. I don't really think they'll, unless they're like insanely good on DPS, like way better than the other 2 range specs. It won't be used. unless you need that grip or something of that nature. But for the most part, I think the range specs would be preferred.
Yeah, Aladia goes 10 melee DPS meta 2016. Ugh. I mean, it could happen. I mean, it'll be Dragon Soul all over again with like more than half the raid is melee.
Well, they keep adding melee. I mean, Demon Hunter's gonna be melee, so
Demon Hunters,
everybody wants to play that.
Survival Hunters adding 2 melee to the game.
Yeah.
Yup, taking away a range, adding 2 melee. Whoop whoop whoop, and technically 1 more tank in that regard as well. So,
yeah,
more. They're still technically melee. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be. We'll have to see. I don't know if the question about the ring being BIS next expansion due to the way it scales, unless they let you have the ring next expansion, I'm pretty sure the ring just won't work.
There's no way they'll let that happen. They didn't let
stop working.
They didn't let the legendary cloak go through. They didn't let the legendary. They didn't let like Rune of Reorigination or like any of those like really broken or the amplified trinkets. They didn't let any of those go through. Yeah, none of that worked, and there's no reason to think that it would work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Whoops, that's the wrong button. How about Leadfoot wants to know, would you like Mythic raid size to remain the same? If not, how many players you'd like to see in the raid? So basically, are you happy with 20-man raiding? Or
I'm okay with 20-man. I like 20-man. However, I don't like the battle res system. I would much rather have some version of the old battle res system instead of the new one.
You don't like the charges over time nonsense thing?
Nope, do not like that at all.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm fine with both things. I don't know.
You are really the opposite. You are the opposite.
Okay, yeah, like I told you, Tagzz is the biggest contrarian to ever live.
I like 20-man. I like the res system. 25-man just seemed like it would be... 25-man just seemed like you'd be always carrying someone, at least. If not 5 people or 1 person, whatever. It was always really... I think it was too much.
One thing to know about the 25-mans is there would be more rooms for those classes that we were just talking about, like those DPS hybrids. I mean, I like 20, I like 25, I don't really care. I don't like the B-res system, it's kind of lame. But, I mean, just gotta deal with it. But, yeah, that's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair. I don't know, it's a very torn subject. I personally thought 20-man Mythic was great. 25-man rating always felt, just like you said, like there's always a little bit too many people in there. And obviously from my olden days, 40-man rating was awful. Like, it was just that it was like a thing from EverQuest. It was just like, that's the raid size. They brought it down in World of Warcraft for 40. It was not all it was cracked up to be. It's definitely not, because in 40-man you're carrying half the raid, because half your hunters are AFK auto-shotting anyway. So, yep. Not going to be a thing. Yeah, anything that's potentially BBIS expansion will get nerfed for high levels. Of course. I guess I'll kick over to the question that Hina sent in. If you guys ever have questions for the show, and always ask me, like, you can always ask them during these after show sections or these like after break sections, I guess, because it's not the real after show. It's still the main show. Send them in on Ask a Boss, right? Like, if you have questions for next week's episode or the one after BlizzCon, like, or after BlizzCon's happening, if you have questions you want to ask my guests coming on that show, just send them into the Ask a Boss forum. It all goes to my email. I use it to help me make the show notes. It's pretty good. But this question, Hina sent in a question, and it goes that split runs have been around since ICC and the Grand Crusade, and have become almost a necessary evil for top-rating guilds who are going for world first. Do you think it's time that Blizzard did something to discourage multiple runs in the first 2 weeks of progression? And if so, what would your suggestion be, Max?
Got it. Get rid of it.
How would you, like, how do you get rid of split runs, though? It's such a weird...
Okay. They could, see, this is kind of like, you gotta delve into, like, what different WoW communities like, right? So for Mythic guilds, high-end Mythic guilds, what you could do is do personal loot the first week of, or personal loot heroic all the time. If you can't master loot heroic, you get rid of split runs. But if you do that, then all the guilds that raid heroic as what they do would be upset by that, because they would probably want to master loot it.
Right.
There's a ton of other theories. I'm having trouble thinking of them. Like things they could do, or like I don't know, or share the lockouts again or something. I don't know. Yeah,
the thoughts
yeah.
of
What Naga said about the personal is like, yeah, like they're gonna do runs and have like some guilds that have like 5 mains or 5 of one class and see whoever gets the best gear or
yeah.
something crazy like that. And that would be even worse. That would be even more awful than what it is now.
You would have to like make lockouts account wide or something.
Yeah,
Basically.
yeah. Well, okay, then you're just creating the same evil. Then there's just a
Yeah.
bunch of accounts. Then everyone just makes 4 or 5 accounts with different characters.
Yeah.
It's probably unstoppable, but it is terrible.
I think really the only good solution they could have right now, I think, would be re-merging the lockout saves like before, like how it was before WAD. I mean, that was I had mentioned earlier. That was what was terrible about Highmall, that you were rating 4 or 5 split runs during progression and after. I think people won't get so burnt out if they just start Mythic and that's what they're doing for the week. That's it. So like this split run thing it's only a thing that people are doing the first week. That's it. They don't continue doing them when Mythic's open and stuff. I think that's the only thing. Although people still, in the past, they were doing the trailing normal runs, but I don't think that's a big deal at all because they're only doing one.
Yeah. You mean like, so if you if you set your toggle to Mythic and you kill a boss, then you're basically locked to that. And if you go to Heroic, the boss is already dead.
Yeah, but so what people were doing in the past when it was just Heroic and normal, they were killing a boss, and this was even during progression. They would kill a boss for the first time, and then they would go into normal with the people that weren't in for that boss and kill it, so they don't miss out on that gear. So that's only one run extra. So I think that system was a lot better than the current one, but there's not much else to do, I don't think.
I wonder if it's even a metric that the devs are even looking at as being a serious balancing point for the game. Since Blizzard usually balances around like the 50th percentile Heroic Raider, then they're not doing split runs, right? And even like the higher end Heroic Raiders aren't doing split runs. It's only like the top echelon of Mythic Raiders, really, and it's a very, very small percentage, so I even wonder if they'll ever care about it. But it is not very fun. I mean, even I did 2 split runs, and that was like, that's just 2. And some of you guys have done 4, 5, 7, 12, 15, so I don't even know how they're going to do it. But it definitely needs to be something they probably should look at. Well, we talked about that Northern Man. You just make other accounts. You just move all your characters and have, multiple raid accounts so that you have, like, your Hunter on one account and your Shadow Priest on another account and your Warlock on another account. Then you can just keep raiding. Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah. And I wouldn't think they would.
I hate it.
That would be awful. I mean, technically, that would be making more money for Blizzard because it'd be forcing people to do that, but that would also be kind of, like, shitty. There's no other word I can think about being like that. That would be a little bit hot garbage. So, yeah, I don't know if they can ever really do it.
People always find a way to exploit, or not exploit, but like find a way to get the most optimal amount of gear, anyways. So,
right.
I mean, I might as well just make it a little better, but I might as well just leave it to where you do a couple split runs the first week or whatever. I mean, I can't stand it. I hate having to play 4 characters or whatever the case is, but it is what it is.
It is a little bit frustrating. I don't know if they're gonna do it, but I know it's been a thing. I remember talking about this back in MOP, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they do. Let me scroll back up here and see if I missed any questions. Let's see. Yeah, Claudia says, trust me, babe, there's nothing you can do against split runs. There's gotta be something, man. It's a pretty crappy system. Let's see. What have I missed? And they can't make it all personal. That would be rough. Let's see. What have we missed here? Oh, yeah, that's right. Leadfoot was asking about active mitigation. Do you think active mitigation was reworked to be less available to players and require more timed gameplay? Or do you think if active mitigation was reworked to be less available to players and require more timing gameplay? It would introduce a new way to have more organic tank swaps by you simply not being able to tank the boss at this time. I guess you're asking for more strict rules to active mitigation. So
what do you mean by timing? What do you mean by like? Do you mean timing like kind of how tanking is in games like Terra and like let's say use Dark Souls for example, where you have to actually like dodge the attacks?
Dodge timing and stuff.
Is that kind of what you mean? Like I mean, there's already enough timing in it today. Like a lot of classes don't do it, but let's use Pallies for example.
Sure.
Like Paladins absolutely like time melee attacks for their Shield of the Righteous. You'd be stupid not to, because you can get, you know, if you just macroed into ability, which would be just the most completely ridiculously awful thing to do, or let's just say you just hit it randomly. You know, you could be missing 1 or 2 melees per, or like you'd only get 1 melee within the swing or 2 instead of 3. There's a lot of bosses depending on swing timers where you can really exploit that. That's really like the only thing. The question's kind of hard to understand. I think something. I mean, tank swapping is. I don't know if you mean like one tanking, like where you have to like 2-tank everything. If that's what you mean, I'm not entirely sure what you mean.
Yeah,
it's kind of a loaded question.
It's just gonna be a system that I don't know if they're gonna be able to fix exactly, because some of the active mitigation stuff, like I said before, even at high haste values, though, as a prep pal, you can almost have SOR up all the time, though.
Yeah. At some,
so it's not very active. It's just passive at that point. So, and for Brewmaster monks, your mitigation is basically also passive.
Well, not really. The thing about are you speaking about Elusive Brew? Because Shuffle's not really active mitigation. Shuffle is something that is pretty much up all the time. Like if you don't have Shuffle up, you're just gonna get crushed. The Monk's active mitigation is entirely Elusive Brew or Guard in kind of the same like aspect of like how you use both of them.
Sure.
Shuffle at least at this point, they might have originally intended it on being active mitigation where it was the thing that counted for raw den. But really, I mean, all the active mitigation nowadays isn't just Shuffle. You have to have Elusive Brew up, and there's a reason for that. It's really truly what active mitigation is. Now, if that's what you meant, at certain crit levels, which monks stack crit, you know, it's pretty much up all the time anyway, especially with Chi Brew. So, I mean, yeah, monks pretty much have it, and Paladins do too. I mean, with high haste levels, you're pretty much keeping up Shield of the Righteous all the time. You don't have to sit there like a mad scientist or something and just like count melee slings, stuff like that. It's just something that helps with lower gear and in previous years where that wasn't as much of a thing. But that's kind of what I mean by timing. Like, I don't know. That was a loaded question for sure. There's like a lot to that.
Oh, it's definitely a lot. He returned with if your class can't quite cap your resource, so you don't you have to not have 100% uptime on your stuff. Okay. So you'd have to be more sparing with it. Yeah. Well, again.
Well, one, I don't think they want to make tanking any harder than it already is. I think there's a lot of players in this game that are tanks. You know, like they don't play like a lot of, they haven't DPS before. They're just tanks. I feel like they die enough. You know, like I feel like they don't want to make tanking more of an issue, and especially in other guilds. I feel like they don't want to make tanking more difficult.
Fair.
I wish they would, but they won't. You know, like it's something that probably won't have. Like you try to separate what you think to what like the casual fan base, which is like 99% of the game wants, and that's probably not the same answer.
Yeah. It's a weird point, that one right there. Let's see. A couple time for a few more, maybe. Let me scroll through here and see what I've got. Let's see what I can get here. Eladia wants me to ask you guys if you love the Warforged and socket system, but that's also a loaded question.
No, I think that's an okay question. I mean, I like it a lot more than what it used to be previously. I like it. I like socket being an extra facet of what you can get on gear, except for it just being Warforged and things having set sockets. Didn't you? I feel like it like increased the importance of gems where previously, because gems are insane right now. Like everything except for like weapons and trinkets and stuff like that. Like socket is just so much better with the 75 gems. I like it. I have no issues with it at all. I don't know how they feel about it.
I don't like it at all. I
Dude.
like one or the other. I like sockets better. I don't like Warforge. I think they should just pick one, because there's always like, oh, I gotta get that Warforge piece. Now I gotta get that Warforge piece with the socket.
Yeah.
And then now I have to go upgrade it because they're adding that back. Don't even get me started on that. And I don't know. I don't like it. I mean, I like one or the other. I don't like three things that can possibly be on your gear. But yeah. So I guess I like the old way, how it was last expansion.
And you have to think on that too, Tags? Do you disagree or you agree?
Yeah, I like the old way better because it felt like you could actually get full best in slot gear, and it's probably possible now, but I don't think it's going to be a few people in the whole world that get full best in slot type of thing.
Right. I mean, it's so random. Like, I have an avoidance set where I can get 20% avoidance. Like, it happens to get, like, those kind of sets. I've always said that Warforged should be not in Mythic rating, because you're at the highest level of raid tier. You shouldn't have a chance to get the best gear. You should just, like, get the best gear. Sockets being, like, a, ooh, moment. But, like, it also propagates just the item levels going higher and higher and higher. And this is before the fact that we're going to get the item upgrades again to hold us over until Legion. So we're adding more item levels on top of this. And we're already in, like, pre-mop DPS right now. The squish is not going to last much longer. They're going to have to squish again after Legion, because the numbers are going to be a little bit ridiculous again. Which I just don't know why they can just slow down the item level gain, I think. And Warforging and Mythic is... Like, Warforging Heroic is kind of cool, because, like, it helps you get over those humps, and if you're that kind of guild progressing in Heroic, but it's not fun in Mythic rating. Not fun.
What they could do for sockets is make them on only certain pieces of gear, like neck rings,
on jewelry,
something like that, and then you could have Warforged everything else. Not make it so every single piece has a whatever the chance is, an eighth or something. I'm just making that up.
Right.
A chance of being substantially better than other versions of it.
Sure. Yeah, Maxim, you posted a question in Skype. How do you feel about RPPM trinkets versus ICD?
Yeah, I saw it in chat.
Sure.
Cocoa Butter said it. That's a very common question, and I think all of us will universally agree that RPPM is better, because ICD, of course, but what ICD was like everyone had like the same opportunities pretty much to do the same damage, and everything procced at the same time, and it wasn't fun. Coming from a DPS, I played DPS for most of my WoW career. RPPM is so much more fun. So much more fun. Because it like has variation. Like, yeah, the thing that no one likes about it is that like the top log on a boss will be someone that just had their trinket proc for the whole fight or something like that. Like, yeah, that's stupid, but the rest of it in like doing progression and like just pulls in and out, it's way, way, way more fun.
Yeah, no. I think there's definitely a merit to either or. Kiss, what do you got?
I like one of each, kind of how it is right now. Or whatever. I mean, I like RPPM. I like that a lot. I hate the or I actually like on use too. I like that they added that back. I like that. I don't really like ICD then, I guess. I like the one on use, one RPPM. I don't really like two RPPMs. I think it's too much RNG. Besides, like, the start of a fight or whatever. But especially with like a cooldown oriented class, it's nice to line everything up, and with RPPM you can kind of just get screwed sometimes. Okay. But yeah, I like them. I don't know if I like two of them. Like in Siege, usually it would be one RPPM, one ICD, and I liked how that was. But yeah, I like on use. I mean, I don't really care. That's my opinion on it.
Fair enough. Was there anything else I saw? There was like one more question up above all this nonsense Pepe spam in chat. Let's see. Nope, I think it's all been pushed out now with all of the ridiculous nature of chat right now, which is great. It's fine. Sometimes Twitch chat will Twitch chat. Talks about currency systems for Mythic rating instead. So you can use it on gear you wanted to use it on. I guess that's for like, I've always thought of like systems that you can control different upgrades like Warforged and socket it in your own gear, but that also sort of propagates weird who gets it, and you put them all on one person, and you can like overpower certain people before they're supposed to be. So gear isn't as RNG. So, I don't know. I thought that was one more question that I wanted to ask you guys, but I can't find it. So I think it's... Oh, Fern's asking about how you guys feel you mesh as a guild. We went over that earlier. I think that may just about do it once I see something. Oh, MM asked, well, end with this. We'll go with Kiss first. Do you have a favorite encounter this expansion?
Oh, Hellfire Assault.
Ugh, are you...
No,
Shut
actually,
your
it was probably pre-nerf Chromok. Pre-nerf. World first.
Shut up. Shut up.
So these
Oh
are
my
these
God,
are real
that's so
favorite
stupid.
bosses.
No, for seriously, it's probably Archimon, though. I like that fight.
Mythic Archimon, I assume?
Yes.
Mythic Archimon before Rings was awesome. It was insanely difficult, and videos. It was insanely difficult, and huge props to Method for killing that boss with pretty much no rings. I mean, having one ring doesn't really affect anything. That's insane how they made those checks and killed it that quick.
So what would you say is your favorite encounter this expansion then, Max?
Okay, so from a tanking, I don't know, from an overall perspective, absolutely Archimon. I mean, Imperator was not hard at all. I actually didn't do like real progression on Black Hand because I had left my guild before to form Limit before we killed it, so
Okay.
didn't do that. But I heard that was pretty nice. But I mean, this tier, there's 3 fights that I think of that were super fun from a tanking perspective. I'll go from a tanking perspective because they're gonna go from the overall probably, and that is Zool. All of these before Rings, obviously. Zool was really fun, really engaging for tank. And somewhat of a hard boss. I mean, it was like not even more than a night or two, but you know, decently hard boss. And Tyrant was definitely a fight that I feel like a lot of tanks really struggled on.
Okay.
And it was really like before Rings. I mean Rings make it a joke, but like it was really fun to do that boss for progression. Then Manaroth was a joke to tank, and then Archimon was awesome. I would say the end result would have to be Archimon. It's a good tank fight, good all around fight. Extremely difficult, like P3, best mythic phase we've ever seen. I think Archimon speaks for itself as probably the best fight they've come out with in a while.
Fair enough. Tags, wrap us up. What do you think?
I agree with Archimon being my favorite fight. So that's pretty simple. But I guess I'll mention a few other bosses. I actually liked Tyrant. Most of my guild hated it. Most of my guild also hated Fell Lord, although I liked that one. Manaroth was extremely boring. It was too long and it wasn't healing intensive at all. There was really nothing to do with the first 2 phases. So, yeah, Tyrant was fun. Fell Lord was fun. Archimon was fun. Archimon was fun to heal, and it was also an amazing fight. Fell Lord and Tyrant are kind of boring, but I like to heal them.
Well, all right then. There you have it. No one said, oh gosh, his name was just there and then he exploded. Train boss. Oh my goodness. Freaking, oh, why can't I think
Thogar.
of Thogar, Operator
That was a good
Thogar.
fight.
He was kind of like the Black Fuse of this expansion in some way. I felt like he was pretty fun. But yeah, those are all good answers. I haven't beaten Mythic Archimon yet. We're just getting into the middle of phase 2 myself. So like 58% on our poll so far. We couldn't raid on Thursday because the servers were down because of that whole kerfuffle ISP issue. So yeah, raid day lost to the IRL MMO. But all right, gentlemen, I think that's gonna wrap us up for here. I'm going to hit the button. Thank you all for tuning in today to episode number 101 of Final Boss TV, your WoW and Game rating show. Of course, if you've missed anything from the previous episode, this will be up on YouTube tomorrow. All of our other episodes, of course, or episodes of Awesome Note are all down below in the channel guide, or all found on our YouTube page, or iTunes and Stitcher. And of course, all the information is at FinalBoss.tv. It's right there. So, around the table again for our guests today. Sat down with Kissthebaby. There he is, representing the DPS side of Limit. Thank you for being on the show, sir. It was fun. Good. Your gopher, your ferret thing was entertaining for chat room, I think.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah. Thank you, thank you. Keep playing the Fire Nova fight in.
I will. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that everybody hates on me for it.
Yo, I don't. I'll give you a high five right now, man. Yeah. Thank you for being on the show. And there is Tagzz. Thank you, sir. Bring up the healing side and the officer's ships of method. Good luck to you in the future, and thanks for your time today. I appreciate it.
Sorry I couldn't drop bars for people.
Oh my, I know, right? Most requested thing all show.
Yeah.
But thank you, sir. It was a lot of fun. Maximum, thank you as well. More officer stuff. Tanking perspectives from Limit. Thank you, sir, for your time.
No problem, man. Man.
What? You good?
The Tagzz M&M release thing is just hilarious.
That's gonna be photoshopped. You know it's gonna be. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You can, of course.
It's Eminem.
Yes. That's what he said.
Who is it?
Who is
Tagzz?
It's Tagzz. Apparently.
The real Slim Shady. Yeah, he's trying to drop bars.
I thought the Ramsey Snow one was a better comparison.
Well, yeah, I always say that earlier in the show. Does chat room gonna keep me on this one? Does Max look a little bit like Ramsey Snow? He does, doesn't he?
I really don't. I don't get that.
Yeah.
You can go find out more, of course, about Limit at limitguild-inbetweenthose.com. And you can see how they do in Legion. And of course, next week I'm sitting down with Asmongold and Bellular to go over our pre-BlizzCon 2015 thought bubbles and tinfoil hat experiment. Then there's no show on the 8th when I'm gone. And the 15th, I'm sitting down with Preach and Novel to go over the wrap-up from BlizzCon 2015. And then after that show, I have a little special interview with some amazing ladies you may or may not have heard about on the internet that you could have bought things from. More on that in the future. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the YouTube comments. Trust in your seal of inevitable Warforged gold. And until the YouTube comments or wherever else we see you, goodbye, everybody. Bye. 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 Wave. Wave. Wave with nice people. Wave. Give him something. There you go. Thank you.
I'm 10 waving.
Yes, thank you. Your gopher's waving.